Alone at a wedding, she discovered a heartwarming secret. As a billionaire whispered, "Be mine for a night." The grand ballroom sparkled under the gleam of chandeliers, the air thick with laughter and the clinking of champagne glasses. Emily stood in the corner, nervously adjusting her dress, a modest thing barely fitting in amidst the designer gowns swirling around her. As she watched her best friend say "I do" to a man draped in luxury, she felt like a ghost in a world where wealth dripped from every silk-clad shoulder. Memories of her mother's relentless work came flooding back, the late nights scrubbing floors and the sacrifices made to pave a path of love. A discordant note struck in her heart, a twinge of pride tangled with an overwhelming sense of inadequacy, as if she was destined to be less than the shimmering crowd around her. Amidst the dreamy ceremony, her gaze caught a striking figure, Jake, his warm smile breaking through the crowd like sunlight. Tall and effortlessly charming, he seemed to float above the sea of lace and silk. They locked eyes and suddenly he was standing next to her, making the world shrink down to just the two of them. "Are you enjoying the show?" he asked, his voice smoother than the finest whiskey. Emily's heart raced, the contrast of his opulence against her simple life making her breath hitch. But there was something disarming in his gaze, a glimmer of vulnerability that stirred a connection deeper than their surroundings. As they chatted, she became lost in the moments they shared, his laughter echoing in her ears. Jake spoke of dreams beyond money, of family values and the weight of expectations. She felt herself opening up, sharing tales from her childhood, the warmth of home and the unwavering strength of her mother. Every word exchanged felt like a bridge being built, but a nagging voice whispered, reminding her of their different worlds. Was he just another wealthy man destined to forget her once the night faded? The celebration pulsed around them, but Emily's thoughts frayed when she overheard whispers behind her. Secrets of Jake's life emerged, his family's small business swallowed by corporate greed. She watched as the grandeur of the evening began to crumble under the weight of truth. It wasn't just her who had felt the pressure of societal burdens. Jake was trapped under the expectations of his own legacy. In that shared moment of understanding, love blossomed softly inside her, igniting a flame of hope. Could they embrace their realities together? Just as a new chapter seemed to unfold, a misunderstanding shattered their connection. Jake slipped back into his affluent circle, leaving Emily alone amid the laughter and celebration. An ache filled her chest. Torn between her mother's teachings of hard work and the allure of a life with Jake, she stood at a crossroads, each path leading to questions she couldn't yet answer. Did love require sacrifice? Would following her heart mean abandoning her roots? As the night reached a tense peak, emotions whipped through the air. In a dramatic confrontation, Jake's past was laid bare before Emily, exposing his own battles with identity and belonging. Sensing the chaos closing in, they stood frozen, hearts beating wildly, each yearning for connection yet caught in fear. Before they could speak, the host's voice boomed through the hall, silencing the crowd. Emily's heart sank as the words hung heavy in the air. Would they ever bridge the gap between dreams and reality? Would she find the courage to fight for love, against expectations, amidst swirling uncertainties? The murmurs of the crowd faded into a tense silence as the hostess' announcement echoed in Emily's ears. Her heart raced. She could feel the weight of every gaze shifting towards her and Jake. It was as if time had stretched itself thin, wrapping around their moment like a suffocating blanket. The room was a blend of bright colors and laughter, yet within that vivid decor, she felt achingly alone. Jake, now standing a few feet away, wore a mask of confusion interwoven with frustration. He ran a hand through his tousled hair, the sadness in his eyes evident, and Emily's heart ached at the sight. In that moment, his vulnerability called to her. They were two souls caught in a gilded cage of expectations and judgments, their hearts desperately wanting to collide yet held back by fear. "Let us step outside," Jake finally suggested, his voice barely louder than a whisper. She nodded, relieved to escape the prying eyes around them. As they stepped out onto the balcony, the cool night air washed over her, refreshing and electric. The stars twinkled overhead like distant dreams, and in the quiet, the chaos of the ballroom faded away. It was just the two of them, engulfed in the silence they had both been craving. Emily, Jake started, pausing as if searching for the right words. "I'm sorry for everything. It's just the pressure of all this." He gestured back towards the ballroom. "It gets to me sometimes." Her heart softened. "I get it, Jake. Sometimes the glittering exterior hides the weight of the world underneath. I know it doesn't matter how rich you are, it's not just the money, he interrupted, his eyes earnest. It's the legacy, the expectations. My family wants me to take over the business, to live up to the reputation. But that's not who I am. I want to carve my own path, but she echoed. Feeling the weight of their shared burdens, he hesitated. His raw honesty threading life through the fragile air that enveloped them. I want genuine connections, and that's hard to find in my world. I thought maybe I found that with you. Emily's pulse quickened. But it feels like the more we get close, the further apart we drift. Jake stepped closer, holding her gaze, his smile lingering despite the nerves that twitched in his brow. What if we tried to find that connection? The real one? Despite everything? The sincerity in his words sent warmth flooding through her. Yet uncertainty loomed in her mind, shadows of doubt whispering fierce warnings against the hope growing inside her. Could they really build something genuine despite their opposing worlds? Before she could answer, a commotion erupted from inside the ballroom. The door swung open abruptly, and a group of guests spilled onto the balcony, laughter bubbling over like soda fizzing. Jake and Emily pulled apart subtly, the moment disrupted. But as laughter echoed around them, she could barely hear it. Jake's eyes still held her captive. What do we do now? She murmured, the question hanging heavily between them. Jake took a deep breath, his expression resolved, yet anxious. We find our own story together. No matter how messy or complicated it might get. That spark of hope ignited stronger within her. But a tinkle of uncertainty still twisted in her stomach. They both had so much to navigate, their worlds, expectations, fears. Would they ever pull through the confusion and uncertainty together? As they stood together, wrapped in the spell of the night, a choice loomed before them. Could they truly redefine their stories while playing by the rules of life and love itself? With each silence stretched between them, the uncertainty echoed. What would their next step unveil? The laughter from the guests echoed off the balcony walls, pulling Emily back to reality. She turned slightly, peering into the crowd of familiar faces, smiling, dancing, oblivious to the storm brewing just outside. The joy of the evening felt achingly far away. A stark contrast to the swirling emotions inside her. Hey, focus on me. Jake's voice sliced through her thoughts, drawing her attention back to him. His smile was softer now, more genuine, as if he understood the turmoil inside her. I'm sorry, she said, her words scarcely above a whisper. Just, everything feels so complicated. Complicated doesn't have to be bad, he said, a determination flaring in his eyes. If we don't try to make this work, we'll never know what we could have. Her heart raced again, excitement mixing with fear. What if she took the leap? What if they could pull through all the chaos together? Yet the thought of stepping into the unknown made her stomach churn. Jake, I've never done anything like this before. Diving into something uncertain, it scares me, she admitted, vulnerability pouring from her. He stepped closer, the warmth radiating off him, enveloping her. I get it. But maybe we can go slow? One step at a time? Emily gazed up at him, searching for something solid in his expression. There it was, an invitation, a promise. Taking a chance could lead to potential pain, but what if it also led to a deeper connection? After all they had faced, it felt like an inevitable leap just waiting to be taken. That could work, she said, allowing a tentative smile to emerge. But I need to be honest with you too. Honesty is all I want, he replied, his tone earnest, spilling sincerity into the cool night. Okay, she took a deep breath. I battled with feelings of inadequacy. Your world seems so vast and perfect. Sometimes I feel like I can't fit into it. Jake frowned at that, shaking his head slowly. You don't have to fit into my world. I want you to carve yours, and I want to be part of it even if it feels like chaos. He reached for her hand, their fingers brushing together like the first gentle touches of spring as the stars twinkled above. She felt the weight of his words settle comfortably between them. They were in this together, embracing the messy journey that came with it. Just then, another wave of laughter erupted from the ballroom, bringing with it a sudden gust of sound that seemed to awaken the unknown. We should go back inside, Jake said, his grip tightening around her fingers. They need to see we're not hiding from whatever this is. Taking a deep breath, Emily nodded. She felt emboldened by his support. Let us show them what we've got. Then she grinned, laying her fears aside for a moment. Together, they walked back to the vibrant chaos, hearts racing in sync. Jake pulled her closer, the connection electric. She could feel the subtle shift in the energy around them, whispers of curiosity swirling as they stepped back into the light. But just as they entered the ballroom, Emily caught sight of a familiar face. Her stomach dropped. There stood her mother, eyes narrowed, mouth set in a firm line as she scanned the room. Emily's heart sank. Because now, more than ever, she feared the truth of their connection would awaken her mother's most critical judgments. Jake, Emily whispered, feeling the urge to pull back. Look, I know this might get messy, he said gently. But trust me, we can face it together. As she paused to gather her courage, the buzzing crowd faded into the background, emotions swirling around her like the shimmering colors of a kaleidoscope. But would they truly stand united against the outside world, or could their determination crumble under the weight of scrutiny? The night held untold secrets and revelations waiting just behind the colorful facade. With a steadying breath in her lungs, she took his hand a little tighter. What would this evening reveal to them? Emily's heart raced as she stood at the threshold of the ballroom, Jake's hand steadying hers as anxiety washed over her. She could feel her mother's glare like a spotlight, and every fiber of her being screamed to retreat back to the familiarity of their quiet moment on the balcony. I'm right here, Jake murmured, his voice low and soothing. She looked at him. His unwavering expression gave her a little spark of courage. The laughter and chatter of the guests enveloped them like a cocoon. But the tension was palpable as Emily took a brave step forward. Let us blend in, she suggested, trying to shake off her nerves. As they walked together, Emily caught bits of conversations floating through the air, praise, rumors, laughter, fragments of lives intertwined in this grand celebration of love. Normally, she would delight in the joy surrounding her, but tonight felt different. She felt exposed, vulnerable, as that familiar fear began to creep back in. When they finally reached the center of the dance floor, Emily's mother's eyes narrowed further. The look was unmistakable disappointment mixed with worry, as if her very presence beside Jake was a cause for panic. Jake seemed unfazed, and as the first strains of a slow song filled the room, he leaned down and whispered, "Shall we dance?" Before she could answer, he swept her into his arms, pulling her closer than she expected. The music wrapped around them, a velvety blanket that softened the harsh edges of the evening. It was just them in that moment, heartbeats mingling and time seeming to still. As they swayed together, Emily could feel the tension slowly ebb away, replaced with a sense of connection. You're doing great, Jake whispered, his breath warm against her ear. I just don't want to let anyone down, she admitted, her gaze drifting over to her mother, who was now watching with crossed arms, her expression unfazed. Look, Jake said, gently guiding her chin with his finger. You're not responsible for anyone else's happiness but your own. The weight of his words hung in the air, and she couldn't help but wonder if he meant it as a suggestion or a challenge. I've always been told to be careful, to fit in, she sighed. I just need to carve your own path? He finished for her, a hint of challenge in his tone. Then do it, Em. Without apology. As the music shifted to something more upbeat, other couples started to join them on the floor, but Emily remained lost in her own thoughts. Would her mother ever accept this imperfect, messy connection she just began to explore? Jake, she began, her voice trembling, a vulnerability creeping back in. What if she never approves? If she can't see how incredible you are, then that's her loss, he said firmly. The moment hung heavy between them, but Emily felt the strength of his words seep into her. She couldn't let fear dictate her choices. It was time to embrace who she was and who she wanted to be. The song came to an end. The applause from the surrounding guests broke her reverie. Couples applauded the newlyweds, but the warmth of the crowd left a chilly edge on her spine. When the song faded, Jake pulled her close again, their lips nearly touching. But an unsettling thought broke her concentration. Do you think we are doing this right? She asked, doubt creeping in once more. Who gets to decide what right even is? He replied, his voice softening. Let us just be us. Before she could give a response, her mother approached, arms still crossed, disapproval radiating off her. The moment was shifting again. The tightness in Emily's chest returned, heavier now than before. She felt trapped between the love blossoming in her heart and the worries that threatened to smother it. How can I face her? Emily whispered, panic rising in her chest as she saw the impending confrontation. Jake tightened his grip on her hand. Together, remember? We can figure this out. But what if that wasn't enough? What if tonight shifted everything? Their connection was at stake, and suddenly the reality of it all surged forward with an intensity that shook her to her core. With her mother's approach imminent and uncertainty shrouding her like a dark cloud, Emily had to make a choice. Would she defend what they had, or would she let doubt win? There was no turning back now. Emily could see her mother approaching, the tension in the air so thick it felt suffocating. She blinked rapidly, desperately wishing she could gather her thoughts and find the right words. Jake stood beside her, an anchor in a storm, but even his presence couldn't stop the anxiety from bubbling up inside her. "Mom, wait," she managed to call out as her mother drew nearer, her heart pounding like a drum. The crowd, oblivious to her internal struggle, carried on with their joyous celebrations, laughter ringing around them like dissonant bells. "What do you think you're doing, Emily?" her mother said, her voice sharp yet low enough to avoid attracting the attention of the dancing guests. "I'm dancing, Mom. I'm happy," Emily replied, forcing a smile that felt brittle against her rising fear. "Happy? With him?" Her mother gestured dismissively at Jake, who stood calmly next to Emily, brows slightly furrowed but hands steady at his sides. "Do you really think he's the kind of boy you should be with? This is not appropriate." Emily felt the warmth in her cheeks surge as blood rushed to her face. It felt like the entire ballroom was listening. Every smile turned upon her, a spotlight illuminating her insecurities again. But Jake held her hand tightly, and she took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. "For once, can't you just be happy for me?" she said, the words bursting out before she could filter them. "I like him. He makes me feel alive." Her mother's eyes widened, a mixture of guilt and irritation crossing her features. "I'm just concerned for you, Emily. He's not, Mom. You don't even know him." Emily interrupted, her voice rising. It felt good to stand her ground, but fear lingered in the background like a distant thunder. "You only see what you want to see." The moment hung heavy between them, the sounds of the ballroom fading into a dull roar. Behind her mother's crossed arms, Emily caught a flicker of regret. Was there still hope for understanding? It felt far away but not entirely out of reach. Jake reached up to gently squeeze Emily's hand, encouraging her. "This is your moment, Em," he whispered, his voice a steady beat in her heart. Facing her mother, Emily summoned every ounce of courage she had. "I've spent too long trying to please everyone else. I need you to support me, not judge me. I deserve to be happy even if it's not in the way you envisioned." For a split second, her mother looked taken aback, and Emily took that moment to soften her tone. "Can we just talk about this? Please?" Her mother's expression softened a fraction, revealing the tender want to protect beneath her stern demeanor. The ballroom around them faded at that moment, and Emily felt a flicker of hope ignite. Still, the fear of a harsh reply made her heart constrict. "Emily, I just want what's best for you," her mother finally said, her voice trembling ever so slightly. "And what's best for me is figuring this out for myself. Can't you see that?" Emily's voice shook but was steady. She couldn't back down now. Before her mother could respond, Jake stepped in. "I care about Emily and I will never hurt her. Just give us a chance to show you." In that instant, everything around them seemed to halt. The music, laughter, and chattering of guests felt like a world removed, a bubble where only they existed. Emily held her breath, waiting for her mother's response, hoping for something that felt like acceptance. As silence stretched, Emily's heart raced faster. Would tonight be the turning point she desperately longed for? Or would it lead to more distance between them, widening the rift she feared too much to embrace? Just then, the spell was broken by her mother's shifting glance towards the dance floor, where one couple had begun an impromptu performance. The energy flickered, pulling her attention away from them. "Let us walk outside, Em," her mother finally said, a hint of resignation in her voice. "We need to talk." Emily's heart pounded. Was this a chance for understanding, or would more walls be built? She glanced at Jake, who nodded encouragingly. They could face this together. "Okay," she breathed, and as they turned toward the exit, a new worry bloomed in her mind. Would the secrets unravel with each conversation, or would she finally find clarity in the chaos? As they stepped out into the crisp evening air, Emily's heart raced, not just with fear but also a flicker of hope. What truths awaited them in this fragile moment? And would this lead to the acceptance she yearned for, or reshape everything she thought was true? The cool night air hit Emily's face like a refreshing wave, pulling her momentarily out of her swirling thoughts. She could still hear the distant music pulsating through the walls of the venue, but it felt muted now, as if it belonged to another world. The lights from the ballroom cast a soft glow onto the pathway, illuminating her surroundings while deepening the shadows that lurked in her mind. Jake walked closely beside her, his presence a steady comfort. But as they stepped outside, their initial sense of security began to feel delicate, like a spun glass ornament afraid of cracking under pressure. Emily looked at her mother, hoping to see some sign of reassurance. Instead, she caught the wariness etched on her mother's face, the flicker of protective instincts battling with the realization that maybe, just maybe, this was the moment for a breakthrough. "Let us sit over here," her mother suggested, motioning to a nearby bench. Emily nodded, swallowing her nervousness, and they settled side by side. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken words, a persistent tension that begged for release. "Emily," her mother began, voice softer now. "You're growing up so fast. I want to keep you safe." The moisture in her tone wrapped around Emily's heart, squeezing it with unexpected warmth. This was the first time her mother had let down her guard, if only a fraction. "I understand that. But safety shouldn't mean locking me away from everything," Emily replied, her fingers trembling slightly against the cold metal of the bench. "I need to explore, to make mistakes, to learn." Her mother shifted, glancing away for a moment, then looked back, her eyes searching Emily's face for understanding. I worry. You're my baby, and it's hard to see you with someone I don't know." "Mom," Emily said, an edge to her voice. "You don't even know the real me anymore. I'm not a kid anymore, waiting for someone to tell me what to do or how to feel." Silence settled between them, heavy with the weight of words unspoken. Then her mother took a deep breath, the kind that seemed to plunge into the depths of her soul. "I just never want you to choose someone who will hurt you." A lump formed in Emily's throat. What if Jake isn't that person? What if he's actually good for me? Understanding flickered across her mother's features. "You're right. Maybe I'm just afraid of losing you, afraid of reality shifting before my eyes." At that moment, Emily saw something raw in her mother's eyes: fear, vulnerability, and a longing for connection. "I promise you I'll be careful. But I need you to trust me, even if you don't fully understand." There was a pause, a thick silence that felt full of potential. Then her mother nodded, almost imperceptibly, but it was there. Acceptance, however faint, filtered into the air around them. As they sat together, Emily thought about the way Jake had fought for her happiness. Would he be able to understand the complexities of her relationship with her mother? Could he help bridge that gap? The door opened behind them, spilling light onto the pathway as a few partygoers stepped out for a breather. Jake caught Emily's eye through the jostling crowd, sending her a small smile. Heat rushed to her cheeks, a mixture of affection and embarrassment. Was she really falling for someone her mother didn't fully accept yet? "Can we try?" her mother asked, subtly breaking through Emily's thoughts. "Try to get to know him? I want to understand why he makes you happy, honey." A rush of hope coursed through Emily. This was progress, a step toward healing their relationship. "Really? Really?" Her mother smiled, the warmth illuminating her once tense features. As they shared a moment of tentative hope, the air around them crackled. But as Emily's heart soared, a nagging thought whispering in her head reminded her of uncertainties still to come. What would happen the moment Jake stepped in with that warm, inviting smile? Would it hold the answer to all her questions, or would it provoke yet another storm? The unsettling vibe returned as Emily focused on Jake. Again, how he seemed to embody both her anchor and her risk. Would bringing him into the fold bring them closer or push them further apart? These questions daunted her, and as she braced for what was next, she felt a storm brewing within her. Emily's heart drummed nervously in her chest as Jake approached them, the glow of the venue's lights wrapping around him like a halo. He looked effortlessly charming, completely unaware of the weight of expectations hanging in the air. As he drew closer, the noise of the party faded, leaving just the sound of his breath and the distant rustle of trees swaying in a gentle breeze. "Hey, you two," Jake greeted, his smile bright and genuine. Emily felt a flicker of warmth at the sight of him, but the tension seeped back in as her mother's wary eyes shifted towards Jake. "Jake," Emily's mother said, her voice steady but cool, "we were just talking about you." The words hung heavy, and Emily held her breath. Would her mom's tone strip the moment of its lightness? "Hope it was all good things," he chuckled, running a hand through his hair. The carefree gesture made Emily smile despite her nerves. She could see the vulnerability in his hazel eyes, an echo of her own uncertainty. "Yes, all good things," her mother replied, a hint of a challenge behind her smile. "I want to understand what it is about you that makes my daughter so happy." The moment Jake locked eyes with Emily, she knew there was no turning back. Was this the moment they'd been waiting for? A chance for her two worlds to collide? Tension fluttered in her stomach. She could only hope it would be a positive encounter. "Of course," Jake said, his tone shifting from casual to earnest. "I really like Emily. She's incredible. I mean, she's so vibrant and passionate." The way he spoke infused the moment with a sweet breeze of hope. Emily couldn't help but blush, warmth washing over her until the unease of the earlier conversation faded a bit. Emily's mother gave a small nod, and the invitation within it felt like it could melt the barriers separating them. There was still hesitation in her gaze, but maybe they were building a bridge step by step. "What do you want to know?" Jake asked, leaning forward slightly, his openness inviting. The question hung in the air for a moment as her mother considered her response. "For starters, what do you value the most?" Jake took a deep breath, the flickering street lamp casting shadows over his thoughtful face. "I value honesty and hard work. My family has always taught me that integrity is crucial. I want to build meaningful relationships, not just superficial ones." Emily's heart fluttered. The words felt genuine, and she found herself leaning in, hanging on his every syllable. Her mother studied him intently, searching for signs that would reassure her. "And what are your plans for the future?" "I want to make something of myself to help others. It's not just about business for me. I want to create a legacy that matters," Jake replied earnestly. In that moment, Emily saw a glimpse of the tender bond they could share. If her mother could sense the truth in Jake's words, surely it would lead them all to a safer space. As the night unfolded, laughter floated around them, and the sound of distant music eased the tension. They began to exchange stories, the conversation flowing more freely than Emily had anticipated. But then, amid the smiles and shared experiences, Emily's heart sank as she caught her mother's cautious gaze drift to a couple nearby, their own laughter echoing through the night. The flicker of pain in her mother's expression jolted through Emily. Was it jealousy, longing, or simply fear? "Mom?" Emily hesitated, sensing the walls begin to close back in. "Are you okay?" Her mother's smile faltered for just a moment, revealing vulnerability that added weight to the shared moment. "I'm just processing everything," she murmured. Suddenly, Jake turned towards Emily, a look of concern on his face. "Hey, if this is too much, we can always step away. We don't have to do this right now." The invitation hung in the air, laden with the possibilities of connection but underlined with the tension of what still lay unspoken. Emily looked between them, each holding pieces of her heart. "What if stepping away is what we really need?" she thought, conflicted. What if this was the perfect moment to dive deeper into their fears? As her mind raced, the night seemed to tilt precariously, about to tip into a full whirlwind. Could this night truly be the turning point they all needed? Or was it merely the calm before another storm? For the first time, Emily felt the swell of new emotions, hope threading through uncertainty, pulling her toward something new and frighteningly beautiful. Would it all lead to healing? Or were they navigating toward an unexpected crossroads? As the vibrant sounds of laughter filled the air, Emily's heart was wrestling with its own emotions. It felt like the party had diverted into two separate worlds, one where the festivities spun joyfully, and another grounded in the weight of a moment that could change everything. "Mom, we don't have to if you're not ready," Emily said, her voice soft, a delicate thread reaching out. The tension flickered between them, an invisible barrier ready to crack or hold steady. Her mother glanced at Jake, then back at Emily, and for a brief moment her eyes softened. "It's just sometimes I worry so much about you. You're growing up, and I want to protect you," she confessed, vulnerability shimmering in her voice. "Protect me from what?" Emily asked, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. In that instant, Jake's brow furrowed with concern, And it struck her how pivotal this dialogue could be. From making choices that might hurt you, her mother sighed. I just want you to be happy, but I also want to be sure you're safe. Life can be complicated, honey. Jake shifted next to Emily, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Honestly, I care about Emily more than you might think. I've seen what she can achieve, and I promise to support and respect her, he asserted, his voice steady. There was a raw honesty in his tone that made Emily's breath catch. The three of them stood there, surrounded by a world of noise and lights. The thumping music faded to a whisper as Emily's mother's expression shifted from wariness to contemplation. It felt like a chasm was narrowing, and hope surged in Emily's chest. Yet, her mother's hesitation crept back. I'd like to believe you, Jake, but I've seen things that make it hard. People can be careless like I was? Emily interrupted, the words bursting forth. Memories of heartbreak and confusion flooded her heart. The very thought of those careless moments felt distant but stung like an old wound. But sometimes those mistakes lead us to the best things in life. Jake's expression softened, encouraging her to continue, and for the first time, Emily let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. She wasn't just speaking to Jake. She was speaking to her mother too. I need to discover things for myself, Emily pressed on, looking directly at her mother. But I also want you to trust me. Trust me enough to let some light in. For a beat, silence cloaked them in a fragile embrace. Her mother's eyes glistened, reflecting doubt and love intertwined. Then, as if summoned by that quiet resolve, her mom took a breath and nodded. Okay, I'll try, but let us take baby steps. Jake beamed at Emily, and she felt hope bloom in her heart like new blossoms after winter. There was still a distance to travel, but maybe this was the bridge they needed. Just then, the music from the party shifted to a slow, haunting melody that wrapped around them like a cozy blanket. Jake turned to Emily and offered his hand. Dance? He asked softly, his eyes gleaming with warmth. Emily hesitated for a moment, glancing at her mother. She caught a glimpse of an approving smile, tiny but powerful. Taking Jake's hand, she stepped into his space, allowing herself to feel the flutter of new beginnings. As they swayed to the music, Emily felt her worries begin to ease. She focused on the rhythm, the connection between them, and for a fleeting moment, the pressures of life melted away. But then, a sudden chill danced down her spine as her mother's expression shifted from hope to something more solemn. Her gaze fixed on the couple dancing nearby. What is it? Emily whispered, her smile faltering. Just a thought, her mother said slowly. What if this doesn't last? Emily's heart raced, the uncertainty gnawing at her. As she looked into Jake's eyes, the warmth they once held began to dim. Did they really stand at the precipice of something beautiful? Or was it all just a fleeting moment? Could this be real? She questioned silently, the weight of doubt creeping back in as the music faded around them. Leaving the night silent, Emily knew she had to confront the storm threatening to brew within her. Would she embrace the possibility of love? Or would fear steer her away, once again into the shadows? The music swirled around Emily and Jake, the world fading away except for their delicate embrace. Yet her mother's words lingered in the air, casting shadows over the moment. Was it naive to hope? Was she really ready to let herself feel? Jake noticed her hesitation, the way her brows knitted together with worry. He gently squeezed her hand, his voice barely above a whisper. Are you okay? Emily forced a smile, wanting to reassure him. Yeah, just thinking. She tried to focus on the warmth radiating from his body, the way his presence felt like a safety net. But the fear was hard to shake off. I get it, he said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. It's a lot. But I'm here. We're in this together. The sincerity in his voice made her heart flutter again. But just as quickly doubt crept back in. Her mother had always been her anchor, her guide. What if she was right? What if this was temporary? Dance with me, she said suddenly, pulling him closer to her. If they could lose themselves in the comfort of the rhythm, maybe, just maybe, everything would feel okay. As they danced, the world blurred into the backdrop of laughter and chatter. Moment by moment, she lost herself in the sway of their bodies, in the way his gaze held hers with fierce determination. But there was something tucked deep inside her, a whisper of fear she could not ignore. I just want you to know I'm serious about us, Jake said as they twirled slightly, his eyes searching hers. I want to see where this goes. Together. Emily hesitated, the weight of his words pressing down on her. He had opened up, and now she felt the urge to share her own fears. But something held her back. What if her vulnerability broke the balance they had found? I want that too, she confessed, her voice trembling slightly. But what if I mess it up? He pulled her closer, resting his forehead against hers. Then we mess it up together, okay? Life is too short to worry about the what-ifs. Let us just be us. His words lit a spark of hope in her, but the uncertainty still loomed. The memory of her mother's worried gaze clouded her mind. Suddenly, laughter erupted nearby, shattering the moment. A group of friends skipped past, bubbles floating in the air behind them, innocent and carefree. Emily watched them, their joy evident, and longed for that same lightness. Let us go outside, Jake suggested, pulling her away from the crowd, toward the balcony that overlooked the shimmering city lights. As they stepped into the cooler air, the buzz of the party faded behind them. Just look at the stars, he said, spreading his arms wide. Isn't it amazing? For a moment they stood still, taking in the vastness of the night sky. It reminded Emily of how small her worries felt in this moment. Do you think they could ever go out? She asked, breaking the silence. I mean the stars? He chuckled softly. Now they always shine. Just like how we can find ways to keep our flames burning. The warmth of his optimism wrapped around her, comforting and inviting. But then, out of the corner of her eye, she spotted her mother at the corner of the balcony. The frown on her face was unmistakable, a shadow of worry even from afar. Before Emily could process her discomfort, Jake gently turned her to face him. Everything all right? He asked, concern lacing his words. Keeping her eyes on her mother, Emily nodded, but her heart began to pound. Her mother was waiting. An impending conversation simmered on the horizon, one that could alter everything they had built tonight. Just a lot on my mind, she admitted. Then talk to me, he urged, his voice steady, reassuring. As she gathered her thoughts, a slight shift in the night made her breath hitch. Was she ready to bridge the gap between fear and hope? To stand before both Jake and her mother, and pour out the truth she had guarded so tightly? The night stretched around them, the stars twinkling like promises, as she felt her heart whisper the words she longed to say. But would she have the courage to speak them aloud? As the moonlight washed over them, painting shadows and shining softly on their faces, Emily knew the moment had arrived. She inhaled the crisp air, feeling the mixture of fear and determination settle in her chest. She turned toward Jake, looking deep into his eyes, and he smiled, a beacon of support and understanding. She had to be honest. Jake, there's something I need to tell you, she began, her voice quivering. Whatever it is, we can face it together, he assured her. The weight of his sincerity wrapped around her, affirming her courage. She glanced over to her mother again, her posture rigid but not as adversarial as before. This was it, the opportunity to seek acceptance not just for her heart, but for Jake as well. "'Kay, here goes. My mom worries about me. About us," she explained, feeling the words tumble out. "I've always tried to fit into the expectations she set. And I don't want to upset her. I don't want to make the wrong choices." Jake listened patiently, his expression softening as he nodded in understanding. "But you and I, what we have feels important. And I don't want to let fear decide for me," she continued, her voice gathering strength. "I want this, Jake. I want you." The relief in Jake's face was palpable, but as she turned back to her mother, the worry returned. "Mom," Emily said, her heart racing. "I need you to hear me. I love Jake, and I want to build something real with him. But I can't just keep living in the shadows of your fears." Her mother's eyes flickered with surprise, and for a moment time itself paused. Then the air shifted. Emily could almost feel the unspoken words threading between them, the hope, the uncertainty, and deep down, a yearning for understanding. Her mother started, her voice trembling slightly. "It's not about you not choosing. It's about me fearing for your heart, your happiness." "What about my happiness now? Right here?" Emily pressed, the weight of her mother's fears clashing against the brightness of her own desires. "I need you to see me who I really am." Tears glistened in her mother's eyes, and Emily felt the moment break open. "I just want you to be safe," she said softly, the armor around her heart crumbling. "Frightens me to see you take risks. What if those risks bring joy?" Jake's voice interjected gently, echoing the profound truth of the moment. Emily isn't about to abandon her heart for me, but she is also not willing to lose herself in the process. Isn't that what we all want, right? The air filled with an electric tension as Emily's mother seemed to consider his words. You're right, her mom finally whispered, almost as if admitting it to herself. I've always worried, but maybe I'm the one holding her back. I just want her to navigate her own life. And this is my life, Emily said, finding the strength she needed with you, Jake. The silence that followed was charged with hope and understanding, a promise of new ground they could all tread together. I think I need to see you two together, her mother said, her voice rich with resolve. I want to know you both better. To understand this connection. A wave of relief washed over Emily like a soothing balm. The barriers that had once felt insurmountable began to fracture, replaced by a newfound bond ignited by the truth of their hearts. Yes, she exclaimed, a joyful smile breaking free. Her heart swelled at the thought of everything ahead, the bonding moments, shared laughter, and a family woven together by acceptance. Jake stepped closer, wrapping an arm around Emily's shoulders. We're in this for the long haul. Just give us a chance. As they stood together under the starry sky, there was an overwhelming sense of unity. The music from the ballroom drifted softly in the background, laced with the sounds of joy and laughter mingling all the beautiful possibilities ahead. But most importantly, Emily felt free. Free to love, free to embrace her heart, and free to show not just her mother, but the world around her, that true love flourishes even amidst uncertainties. Let us go back inside, Emily suggested, heart brimming with purpose. Let us show them the real us. Taking her mother's hand and Jake's in the other, she stepped forward. No more hiding, no more fears. Together they would navigate whatever came next, hand in hand, heart to heart. And that moment, under the starry sky, Emily discovered a fresh dawn rising in her life, crowned with love, acceptance, and the unwavering promise of genuine connection. Now was the time to engage. To live boldly, fearlessly, joyously. If you felt this transformation, if you believe in love overcoming fear, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support the growth of our community. And comments, share your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. Don't forget to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. The world needs to see this journey.